lost track of this shit here. Okay, alright. Okay, let me run through scenes again. God damn, your layout, Thomas, your camera keeps going all over the place. Every time I click off a scene and come back, your camera's messed up. I'm thinking about switching back to the old OBS, because at least I have all that stuff locked in. Oh, alright, try this one more time here. Yeah, I don't know. I think
we need a
I think
producer.
The Streamlabs. Yeah, I think the Streamlabs. I don't really think it's for.
It's gonna get real.
All right, I think we're good here. Active speaker. Where's active speaker at? That is el problemo. Speaker should be this guy. Wow, that is huge.
That's what she said.
Not what she said.
Let's see. This sucks. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go back to the old OBS now that it seems to be working. Alright. You know.
Oh yeah, it's doing something. Kind of interrupted my flow here.
Yeah. Hey, Thomas, talk and become active speaker for a
Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm the best.
That switched over. Okay, that's good. Oh, Thomas. Not your fault, but. Goodness.
Let's blame him anyway. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, you know, it's like shooting fish and barrel. Why do people shoot fish and barrel? I don't.
They don't talk about shooting fish.
Barrels. Oh yeah, I see you weren't worried about the barrel, were you?
Fuck the barrel.
Thomas, where you at here? Oh my gosh, brother. Shoot fish and barrel. Too funny. Alright. Yeah. Okay, if you're watching, which I can't even tell who's watching right now, because this doesn't do like the other one, but can barely hear Shokum. Okay. Thank you for that. I know.
Oh, we're live?
Yeah, I told you we were going
Why
live.
are we live? We can't be live. I'm sitting here doing things I shouldn't be doing.
We're live. Well, we're not live because I haven't actually gone through the intro. This is all get edited out of the audio podcast, so it's like it never happened. All right, Thomas. Okay, you look good, Thomas. Look good, Thomas. John, you're a little. Oh, this is weird. On John's, we don't even have.
Oh my goodness gracious! What are we doing?
All right. You look good, John. I always look good. Look at that. Okay. All right, I think we're ready. Yeah, we should start recording. Just one more time real quick. Yep, looks like... All right, let's start local recording. In 3, 2, 1.
Oh my goodness gracious! What are you doing to me?
Start Zencaster. Okay.
He's the one who has to edit it. Don't worry.
Whoever said Gishu, are you hearing me any better? You guys hear me okay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder. I noticed I was watching the video from last week, and I did notice I seemed a little on the low side. But that's just me being self-conscious, because usually I'm blowing out our mic. Gishu, let me know if you're hearing me any better. But we're going to go ahead and get started. Clap check. 3, 2, 1. Alright. Yeah. According to this, my volume's too high. Let's turn that back. John, can you talk?
What would you like me to say? Is it time to go to bed yet?
Thomas?
Yes, I am Thomas.
Okay.
Are you sure about that?
Yep. Everyone sounds good now. Thank you very much, my good friend Gishu, looking after me. Okay. All right. Hello, my finger-tapping ballerinas. You're listening to episode 190 of PHP Ugly, and despite what the title may lead you to believe, this podcast is about the joy and challenges of professional PHP development. We are three passionate PHP devs who make a living coding as well as running a small business. We get together every week to stream and discuss coding projects, work, tech, and running our business. From time to time, you may actually hear us complain about what the word enterprise means. I am your host, Eric Van Johnson, and with me are my good friends, John Congdon.
Dude, I'm really starting to love that intro. You're dialing it in. It's getting there. I like it.
And Thomas Rideout.
Hi.
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 I don't know what to do when John compliments me. It's such a rare thing, man.
What are you talking? I say nice things about you all the time, just not to your face. Because
no.
That's kind of weird.
You say nice things after saying something mean.
What? I would never.
No, it's usually like that's why Eric can't talk to this client anymore. But he's really good with all the other clients.
Oh my goodness.
That's why our HR bill keeps going up. But he's a great programmer.
I see you've had interactions with our HR department lately then, Thomas.
I have not, oddly enough.
Oh, that's weird. Give it time.
I'm only in the company Slack. I'm not in the company HR.
No, we're getting closer. We're bridging that gap.
How's everybody doing? I saw a chat fly by, but I think it was Frank. I don't know where it came in from, but I guess our general must have did it. I don't know.
Well, there's been a very weird turn of events. Week after week, after week after week after week, you two complain about me not putting things on Trello, yet I'm the only one that seems to have anything on Trello this week.
Okay, I don't want to freak anybody out, but I saw the board. I'm like, what is going on here? This is bizarro.
So anyone that uses Trello...
I tried to slide it to the right because I thought that it was like... It was halfway slid over and John's list was just missing from the edge.
Usually, so if you know Trello, it's list of things, and usually my list is empty, and then you got Thomas's list, which is usually like way off the page, and then Eric's list has a few things on it as well. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I mean,
but it did.
I get excited because I feel like you're looking forward to the show, man.
I am. Well, I always look forward to this. Look forward to it.
I like the one that just says Java hell.
Yeah, that's a good title, isn't it?
Maybe that's where we should start this week.
We might as well. I guess.
What was Java hell? Why are we bringing up the J word here on our PHP Ugly podcast?
I'm actually so. When I put this ticket up, I thought I was out of Java hell, and I'm back in Java hell.
Just like that.
And it's, yeah. Because
we're talking Java, not JavaScript.
Java, like literally Java. This topic brought me to go back to figure out when we started PHP Ugly, and it was, I want to say March 2016.
Really?
So. Because I could have sworn in our early episodes I had talked about the Android app that I've written.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
I thought I was in the middle of writing at that point. And looking at the comments within the classes that were created in the Android app, it was May 2015 is when I started writing this application. And a few months ago, it was brought to my attention, hey, we need to recompile it. It needs to be 64-bit, not 32-bit now. And I haven't touched this thing in years. So one, trying to remember the trying to remember the Java key store, I think it's called. Trying to figure out how to build signed APKs. looking at all the changes that have been made. Not to mention that the third-party library that I was using to use within the app is broken in the newer build, so that stopped working. It's been a nightmare for the past week. Literally, I think Friday I spent the entire day on this application.
And the task here is to just compile it again?
Yes. Just to get it up. Well, I also was trying to make. Well, yes. I'll just leave it at that. Because Android Studio was upgraded, so now I couldn't just compile based on the older APIs. It was like, nope, you have to change your minimum API specification to whatever it was, which meant everything else changed. The lowest I could get the version to, the third-party library was still broken. So when I went to it was when I was trying to show a PDF within the application, it was just going to a white screen. And it's an issue that other Android developers were having, and unfortunately, this is a dead library. It's on GitHub. It worked great for a long time, but now it's just dead. There's a ton of open PRs for it, but the developer is nowhere to be found. Turns out, Android now has a built-in PDF renderer, but I'm not a Java developer. I suck at Java. I've learned. I hacked this thing together. I got it working barely. Now I'm trying to use the built-in PDF renderer, not the third-party library. It took me way too long to get it working. But I got it working. This is, for anyone that's wondering, it's called Fax Burner. Because for some reason, people still need to fax.
I mentioned how strange that was last week.
Yeah. So I get the PDF piece working. That's working fine. But now taking pictures or actually, it was loading pictures from the library was broken. So I spent a huge chunk of time yesterday getting that fixed, only to find out, okay, well, if you take a picture, sending a fax works fine, but if you try using a picture out of your library, it's broken. I don't know. I'm still in this nightmare.
I know for a fact what that is. That's the new OS permissions.
It's not the OS permissions, though. I wish it were that easy, but the OS permissions were the easy part. That's fine. This is I don't know enough about image manipulation, so when I use a picture directly from the camera in my app, I get the right dimensions. When I use a picture off of disk, I don't know enough about manipulating it before sending it to the back end to do what I need to do.
I will help you with that later.
Really?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I deal in pictures, kind of.
Well,
but within Java, I mean, it's I don't know. We'll talk about it.
I could tell you what the issue is.
Okay. Well, within Android, you have to convert it. I'm converting it from whatever it's stored as on disk, which I'm assuming is JPEG. You got to turn it into a bitmap, which, from everything I understand, it's only if you want to manipulate pixel by pixel, which I don't care about doing. I want to render it in a grayscale state on the screen, and then send the entire file to the back end. That's all I want to do. It should be super simple. I don't know where it's failing.
On the image tags, all the metadata.
But I'm not touching any of that.
I know that's the problem.
Oh.
Is that all your relevant information that's missing is in your meta tags? For example, when you take a picture and it's not rotated correctly, and you rotate it in the phone, your phone just adds a rotation meta tag to the image. It doesn't actually affect the image at all, because that's just a fast way to do it. So there's a lot of data that's in the various meta tags that if you're not pulling it in as part of the image explicitly, then the image will be broken. Especially, this is especially true with cell phone stuff because these cameras have multiple layers of meta information about the color depth, which camera was used, the distance of the subject of the photo from the lens. I mean, like, you get all sorts of crazy stuff.
I'm going to do my best not to touch any of that.
Good luck. I've had to.
All right. I will look forward to it. Well, speaking of helping, last week we were talking about GitHub Actions.
GitHub Actions.
And after our podcast, Gishu was nice enough to stay and help trying to debug this with me.
Set you straight.
And yeah, turns out I set him straight, and I was right. It sucks. It doesn't work in forked repos.
I was saying, I saw your tweet of frustration earlier this week about how.
Yeah,
I was surprised because it was like Tuesday or Wednesday. So I was surprised that you were still dealing with it after that.
It wasn't necessarily dealing with it. It was just another, like, I was thinking about it, talking with somebody, and it's like, this should work, and it doesn't. So
really
I tweeted out, and then but I was getting people kind of defending GitHub in there, and I understand there's probably technical reasons behind the scenes, but I don't care. I'm paying for the service, just like our big issue with Google. We pay for the G Suite accounts, and it's stupid that I can't. Wow, that is loud.
Sorry.
It's stupid that I.
Yeah, I got a couple extra beers here in ice because I want to get up. It's going to be a 3-beer night, just so you guys know. So
I got one on ice back. I got right back there.
And I'm not as cool as you. I don't have a kegerator in my office.
I have a bottle of beer in there because there's ice in the kegerator.
Oh,
and I can't get a new keg in there right now. I'm waiting for it to melt. So, going back to GitHub issues actions. I decided to put out a poll because I was curious how many people work on teams where they use forked repos versus working out of a main repo or a single repo.
I was so surprised by this result.
I'm shocked as well. 80% of the respondents use a single repository. Only 20% worked in forked repos. And in the words of our awesome president, the results were huge. The number of respondents, so very statistically significant.
Very scientific survey there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We had 16 respondents, so 13 work out of a single repo, 3 worked out of forked repos.
I actually responded just because I was so curious. I was so confident that the fork repo was more commonplace. I'm like, I don't even care. I'm sure it's forked repos.
Really, I don't know where you would get that from. I've never seen an environment that forked repos.
I can't
like
imagine working, especially on a long project. Like if you're building something for a client and there's like a bunch of fast-moving, features coming and going, maybe. But for like a legacy application, man, years of people working out of the same repo. That seems.
But I don't think most
horrible.
people use. I think most people are developing for internal work, not for clients.
You know what I think you get a lot of, and this one answer. I'm speculating completely, but for example, when I start up projects for a company, a lot of times I'll be the first developer on the project, and I'm doing a lot of the foundational work. But if I was the only developer in that company, there would be no reason for me to fork to my personal repo. I would just keep using the same repo. So I don't know. I don't know if maybe the question needed to be worded differently. Like who works on a team of more than 3 people? What is your repo workflow like? because that's
I mean,
where it gets messy to me.
I was trying to say I wanted teams only.
Yeah, you did say that. You did say teams.
But I didn't ask like how many people on your team. Somebody brought it up within our business and how we do things, and of course, all the blame was placed on Eric. But in reality, it was
now the compliment part.
In reality, it was my thing because I came to this as a single developer, right? I worked on my own, but I did open source stuff. So when I started at a phone burner, they were using SVN poorly, and I introduced them to Git, and at the same time, I brought up we should all fork the repos, and that's just how we've done it since then. And then we started DiegoDev, and I just kept that same thing going. I talked to Eric, and we agreed this seems to be the way to go. Somebody's asking in Discord how you control remote repos. Well, it's permission based. You give permission to the repo, and if you need to let somebody go, you take their permission away. They're going to have the code either way, right? Whether it was forked or not, it was cloned to their local computer. You can't take that back.
Right. It actually deletes their fork, though.
It does delete their fork.
Yeah, so it deletes their fork on GitHub, and they lose permission to the project. But to John's point, that's really kind of irrelevant. It doesn't matter the workflow. They have it on their computer.
You bring up an interesting point, though. Could you poison pill a Git repo?
What do you mean? In what
Could you do a Git rebase that flattened out someone else's entire Git tree so that they couldn't revert, so that the code locally stored was just lost?
No, because they still have all the commits locally.
Right.
That's Git in a nutshell. They have a copy of the entire history locally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You could screw up their branch, but it doesn't change what they have on their desktop.
And that's the thing. The only way you could screw it up is if you screwed up your upstream branch and they pulled down from it. You know.
But that doesn't matter because they still have the history.
Right. I completely agree with you, John. That's. And again, this is one of the reasons why I like the management of the upstream repo approach. It's just, I don't know. I think everybody has their own way of doing work, and allowing people to use Git flow, use whips, use whatever they want to do in their own repo, and just have a bunch of branches and broken stuff. I've been guilty of a dozen or so times totally gnarling up my entire repo, deleting it, and just reforking from upstream because for a number of reasons. Who knows, but I'll get into a state where I'm so in the woods on my repo. I'm like, all right, screw this. Delete it off my computer. Delete the repo from GitHub. Refork. Start over. And I have done that enough to know I never want to do it to my upstream branch.
Well, and I branch like crazy. I create a ton of branches and open PRs that ultimately never get accepted, or it's a proof of concept that I never do anything with. And if I was pushing that up to a central repo, people would be annoyed.
Well, I don't do that. I mean, I have Tinker branches, but those don't get pushed out.
So you lose them when your computer crashes. If you don't contribute,
they're just Tinker
backup.
They're just Tinker branches. They don't mean anything to me except.
But even if you're working on something more than Tinker, if you're not pushing it up to, if you're not creating a branch on the remote repo, you're at risk.
If I'm working on something more than just tinkering, then it goes under a Jira ticket, and gets pushed every time I make any changes.
Yeah.
If it's important, it's a Jira ticket. If it's not important, it's just a scrap file to me.
I still think. I mean, I think of all the tickets my team works on with one project. I see all the PRs that come in for that repo. I mean, we're doing 5-6 PRs on that repo every couple days. If all of those were separate branches in that repo, oh my God, what a mess! What an absolute mess that would be.
Yes, I think we have about 500 branches on our Git
What?
repository right now.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me. I
It's just cruft. It doesn't. We don't. No one looks at. I mean, we don't even use the interface for GitHub. We don't even use the. It's just a server that we've got that holds the stuff.
mm,
The thing we care about is that it can be pulled from anywhere and pushed from anywhere.
The big project I work on has 17 branches, master develop, a few from Dependabot,
mm.
and then a few actual feature branches where when a team is working on a major feature, the branch is created. A couple of these should have been deleted and they haven't yet. And then some revert branches because it's very easy just hit the the revert in a PR. And again, those branches aren't being cleaned up. So of the 17, there's really only four currently in use.
Let me clarify too. I have a script that gets the branch name out of the Git branch all list and checks it against Jira. And if it's closed in Jira, I'll go and delete it off of the origin repo. So that ran last time in December. So the 500 that I have are from since December.
Well, and that seems like another risk, though, right? Like, let's say something's wrong with your script. Heaven forbid you write a script that has a bug in it, and you wipe out half the repos of other developers because you're all committing to one server. You know, it's like.
But they've got they have a
they've
copy
still got
of
the
history
local copy.
Right.
So if they want, if it pops up an error, it'll tell them what to do. Can't find remote branch. Here's how you push a remote branch.
Yeah, I'm less worried about that. You're also using Git Flow, which has a very specific naming convention, which is great.
Yes.
When I used to do
Git Flow plus Jira. So it's feature / project name -- ticket number -- the person responsible for the branch.
Yeah. When I used to tout Git Flow, I used to do presentations at user groups on that. That was one thing I really loved, and I didn't stick with it. Once I learned how to branch and merge and rebase, I felt like I didn't need it as much. But that's one thing that I do miss is that very specific workflow.
Well, and I do believe that naming convention for a branch, we actually still have defined as our standard in our company wiki. It's just nobody follows it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Git Flow does kind of enforce it by having scripts that create the branches for you.
Yeah,
I did used to love that.
I remember that was actually one of your first SDPHP talks. I think it was either your first or second talk. You did Git Flow.
That's because it was my first presentation ever when I was in Orlando. So it was a presentation I did there and came to SDPHP and did that.
Guess when my company started using it?
When you started.
That presentation.
Oh.
Same thing as when you guys mentioned Stand Up Alice and how great it is.
Well, you better start to embrace Livewire, buddy, because it's coming towards you.
No. Actually, I do have a Vue ticket. I'm not sure if I mentioned this last week or not. So I've been doing some Vue.
You did mention you were doing Vue last week, for sure.
But the big news is I have merged my Laravel upgrade ticket.
Hey!
It was merged in combination with a cleanup ticket that cleaned up legacy, old, unused code on Monday, and on Wednesday, I was finally done dealing with it.
Yeah.
What's today? Thursday?
Oh, I forgot to retweet.
On Thursday, I was finally done dealing with it.
Did anybody retweet that we started streaming?
I did, yes.
Awesome.
Wait to listen to your co-host here.
Sorry.
So it was a rough one. we had lots and lots of subdomains that we ended up collapsing into a single domain or a single subdomain. A lot of old routes and references to 40 or 301 and 302 redirects to handle all of this stuff that was changing over the last 7 years. So really wiped out a huge amount of routes and views. And I would say only about 20 errors total thrown on Bugsnag once it got to production. So it worked out really well.
Cool. Yeah, I've been...
Speaking of Bugsnag... Whoops, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Speaking of Bugsnag, I actually implemented that in my Android app. When I was trying to debug this thing, it was driving me absolutely crazy, and I brought somebody in that I know is a Java developer to a point. Unfortunately, he got pulled in the other direction, so he helped me a little bit. Yeah. he was like, "Why don't we implement Bugsnag?" I'm like, "That's a great idea." And they made it super easy to pull in the library, get it up and running, and so now I'm sad every time I open Bugsnag.
You know what I thought you were going to say is, speaking of multi-tenant Laravel systems.
Speaking of multi-tenant Laravel systems.
just tee that one up right there.
That's the sound of a Segway crashing into a wall.
Well, you said you were expecting me to say it, so I said it. What do you want me to do?
You have Laravel multi-tenancy on your own Trello board.
Oh, so you want me to talk about that? I see how this works.
No, I just said I expected you to talk about it since I gave you such a perfect intro to it.
It wasn't that good of an intro because I didn't get it because I don't do this very much. I was actually going to ask you before we go down that road. How do you manage upgrades? Are you using Laravel Shift? Should I use Laravel Shift to go from a 5.6 or 5.7 application up to current?
No.
Yeah.
No. That's too big of a job. I would honestly just spin up a new app and start. I mean, how big is the app?
I will tell you why.
2 or 3 major controllers that do the work.
Spin up a new app.
Do you do caching?
Spin up a new app and just start pulling stuff over. I've done this enough to know that's a pretty big. I mean, that's just a pretty big jump. That's all. First thing, you have to pay for each shift. There's not one shift from one to the other, and there's just a lot of changes between all those. Go ahead, Thomas. No, don't go ahead, Thomas. I'm gonna keep interrupting you.
The place that it caught me, that I really am glad we had Laravel Shift, was when they changed from seconds to minutes, or I'm sorry, from minutes to seconds on caching.
Mm-hmm.
And I have caching everywhere in this monolith program, and it just handled that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't use much of Laravel.
Yeah.
I use the routing pieces, and then once it gets very little element, once I get the application up and running, it's mostly doing audio processing.
Honestly, I would spin up a new app and just try moving stuff over.
Yeah, and the reason you'd want to spin up a new app instead of like in a branch as like a fork is that all the config stuff changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like copying stuff into the config. Config files have changed significantly from 5 to 7.
Damn it. It's not on the roadmap anywhere for it to actually be done. So it's
not
more
that long of a process. And I think 5.6 is still the LTS or NLTS, if that means anything. I know it doesn't.
Know it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, LTS standing for long-term support for our listeners who aren't aware.
Yeah.
The support part being the key. Oh!
All right. So multi-tenancy. You were bringing up multi-tenancy.
Well,
I don't know. Well, no, you were. Whatever. You tried teeing it up and you failed.
Yeah.
Failed miserably.
That's true. I tried to toss you a softball and you missed.
So, multi-tenancy, for those that don't know, is using one code base to host multiple domains, correct?
Mhm.
Am I correct in my understanding
Yeah,
of
That's
this?
correct.
generally, yeah.
So I noticed somehow that our good friend Spotty has a Laravel multi-tenancy library out there. And write in big bold letters, package in development, do not use yet.
So I
But
downloaded it.
of course. But
Sound
as
production.
I was reading this one, I do this a lot, not in my Laravel app that I have today, but the main application I work on is a multi-tenant app. And every time we spin up a new client per se, it's all the code works for them, but then some code should only work on some domains and not on others. So it is a multi-tenant domain. What I did catch when I was reading this, it made me think of our good friend Syntaxy that we interviewed for the PHP podcast not too long ago, and she was trying to figure out which framework she was going to move to as she starts to embark on rebuilding her business. She does a lot of work for a lot of different companies, and she was concerned about Laravel because they upgrade so often. And how am I going to, upgrade all of these clients? And I don't know if if she's hosting on a single server or, a single set of servers, or if it's, spread out like different installs. So if it is a single deployment to, multiple servers, this may be a way to go once it's out of beta. It sounds like they're working on it currently. So it might be a good thing to look into. Spotty.be, and it's Laravel multi-tenancy.
See, we've done multi-tenancy in the past. I don't remember it being that difficult, but I must have been missing something because I know it became a big topic for a while. But
It's more about, so it sounds like this library allows you to do a lot of different things, maybe switching databases by domain. So you could have a completely separate database.
I was going to say, it's going to
I-
have to do something like that because there is already domain-based routing in Laravel.
right, exactly. And I'm actually
So I do it in WordPress where I serve up a different configuration based on the domain you're hitting. So it can include a completely different prefix on your database tables. So it's one WordPress installation, but it's basically an infinite number of websites that seem like they are separate.
yeah.
Now, that's a good point is that even though I have domain routing, I also have a bunch of helpers that we custom wrote to figure out what domain you're currently on and what permission levels you should have and stuff like that. So there is a gap in functionality that I've filled in the past with my own code.
Yeah. I like the idea of it being able to do different databases. That would be intriguing to me. I mean, basically, it would almost be like, because we have a client that will occasionally do that, where they want to serve up the same application, but certain clients want to pay a premium so that they're the only ones on the application. So they want their own database. They want their own instance of the app. And if this did something like that, where you could say, hey, each domain has its own database, that would be nice.
Yeah. Well, you figure you have one code base, you deploy it to multiple servers. You got to use your AWS routing to route to different specific servers based on that domain. And then within the multi-tenancy, it's going to hit a different database.
Yeah.
So yeah, this sounds like it would do that. Technically, you could do that anyway with your deployment. When you deploy to, client one's servers, you use an env file that's going to hit the database, database one, where you have the same code being deployed to a second set of servers with a different env file.
Well, it wouldn't even have to be
So
that.
the more I think
It
about
wouldn't
it,
even have to be that complicated, really. If you wanted to talk through this, it would just be a matter of each domain having its own config file. It says, okay, here are all the settings, the database settings for this domain, database settings for that domain, and having each domain read its own config file.
right? It depends on your deployment. So if you're deploying where you have premium clients, on their own servers, they could have their own env files.
True.
If you're talking about a shared pool of web servers amongst all your clients with just different databases, that's different. So it really depends on how you're trying to service your clients.
And I think it's my fault for introducing this as being domain related, because reading through it, it doesn't appear that it's related to domain names at all. It appears that it's related to literally tenants, literally who owns this session. So let's say you had an application that was managing sales leads, everyone having the same application endpoint, but their link to the consumers defining them as the tenant. So you could create records and say this person entered under this tenant and started a lead, and by using this system you could say this user is always using this tenant.
Are you telling me I just don't
system.
understand multi-tenancy?
I think it's just an abstraction of users in this case, but with added functionality. So me and you can have the same core system, the same application that we use, but because I am the tenant, I have my database of connections, and because you're a tenant, you have your database of connections, and the two are kept separate.
Oh, so within a single domain, you could have premium users?
Not premium users, but it goes more towards the business logic of sales leads and how they are a very guarded group of people who are very scared about where their data goes or where their customers end up when they start somewhere.
Well, I mean, that's one use case. I'm talking about
sure
within. Just trying to come up with alternate use cases in there.
It's funny, Kaya in chat, looks like they're over in YouTube chat, says the Spotty package is very basic, a very simple, basic implementation. I wonder.
Well, they do say they're in development.
Yeah, it's very incomplete. Imagine if you had an application that managed dental offices and scheduling. You have the one application, but you've got it deployed to 10 different dental offices. Then you could use each office as a tenant. They have their own database and their own configuration, but it's just the one application. Do you see what I mean? That way you're not deploying the same code base over and over and over again. If you have 100 clients, you're maintaining the one code base, and each client has a tenancy.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
So,
mind blown. You just opened my eyes on what's going on here. It was my misunderstanding of.
I think it was reasonable. I mean, I thought the same thing. That's why I kept saying I didn't understand the complexity in it, because multi-tenancy always seemed you can handle the domains within Laravel. So I never understood why it was such a big topic, but what Thomas is saying makes a lot of sense too, and now I understand some of the challenges with it.
I think we're talking about tenancy as operations guys, where we've had to deal with shared hosting, which is kind of a dead thing. And I think this is more tenancy as an application developer.
You would hope that.
I know.
Think that, but
it's bizarre. I had an interesting conversation with my wife the other day. She asked me why Amazon was charging us 50 cents every month. And I had to explain that I was hosting stuff on AWS. And she says, "How are you hosting stuff on Amazon? Are you selling something?" I said, "No, it's mostly a DNS server that's got a couple records that I keep. She goes, what does that have to do with Amazon? And it was a good half hour where I had to like explain, well, Amazon used to be a bookstore. Now they're a server store.
Exactly what I was about to say. Who would have thought this small online bookstore was going to become the name in cloud computing? It's insane.
Well, and why is it the name? I mean, really, at this point, AWS should not be related to Amazon in any way. The two are separate entities entirely. It's just that AWS came out of the trouble that they had hosting a big website.
Which one do you think makes more money, or do you know?
AWS, I'm sure.
Oh, you think?
Well, I would say...
I don't know. They got plenty of people buying crap from them.
That's true.
But most of the crap they don't sell. They just take a percentage on.
All the better.
And even then...
I would rather do that than actually sell the crap. If I could just take a percentage of sales?
Right,
Jeez.
But everyone who sells crap, not through Amazon, still sells it through AWS. Like, I'm sure Wix...
everyone, but quite a few.
My wife...
I could almost 100% guarantee you that you could find a website that was doing sales, and at some point, you're going to hit an AWS server.
My wife was recently...
Nope.
John and I actually have a little insight on this. So, before we got the DiegoDev offices, we used to meet weekly at a crepe shop, and the entire team would come to the crepe shop, and it was fun. And the crepe owner loved us because we brought all this business. We were actually some of his first customers, and to this day, I think it was because we would have a dozen people sitting at the front of his store at the window, got people interested to come into his crepe store. So I take full credit for his success. I have no shame. But when DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats were all becoming popular, I don't even remember what the service was at the time. At the time, we only had one here in our little town in San Diego. But I had asked him, I'm like, hey, are you going to get on board with this? He's like, no, and he ran through the numbers, and basically, for every dollar somebody spends with him, that company ends up taking like 70 cents. He gets like 30 cents on the dollar for his services. Even though he doesn't have to worry about the delivery, the pickup, or any of that, still 30 cents on the dollar is not great for him. Not to mention...
I think it's the other way around. They take... I thought those companies took 25 or 30%.
That's what you would think. No. And when we talked to our friend, this is what he explained to me. And then on top of that, they charge
on the net.
They'll charge you a delivery fee. They'll charge you
on the gross
tips, and they see none of that. Well, my mom. Oh Jesus, cut that, please.
Oof.
My wife.
Clap check to mark that one.
Thomas, right there. You should have cut. 30 seconds go.
The funny thing is, I missed it, and then you repeated it.
Anyways. My wife came across an article, not like she was looking for it, but came across an article that basically said this, and explained how these restaurants, especially these smaller shop restaurants, are struggling with this, especially with this COVID-19 thing we have going on right now, because their incomes are already being cut, and now that COVID's a big deal, they've been championing these delivery guys as heroes, and I don't blame them, but I think part of it was these companies like Grubhub and DoorDash like, hey, look at all these heroes we're employing. Hey, support these heroes and order something from DoorDash. And we were taking advantage of that. And then my wife comes across this article, and she's like, all of a sudden it's like, we've got to stop using these services. I'm like, why do we care? It's like, I care because I like supporting small companies like our friend at the crepe shop. I probably wouldn't use them for that, but Wendy's, yeah, I'll use them for Wendy's. I don't care.
Yeah, so I do think you have your numbers backwards. We have people in chat saying it's it's backwards, and like Grubhub takes 10% plus processing fee of 3% plus 30 cents.
Yeah, it's.
So
I'm not.
it's
I don't
13%.
mind explaining to you all how you are all wrong and I am always right because but
Because you got like a perfect memory, and this was 2 years ago that we talked.
it's eidetic memory. I don't know what that means. I forget, but
What is a crepe shop? A crepe shop, if you've never had a crepe, don't start now because you should be vegan. But if you're not, a crepe is awesome. Go eat.
Crepes are great. It's not in any particular vegan, non-vegan thing. You can get any sort of crepe you want, but it's a weird delicacy that I was never interested in.
It's like it's a pancake, a very 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 thin pancake wrapped around stuff.
Yeah.
You can get a dessert one.
Get it with
that has like
bacon in it,
chocolate.
bacon and spinach. That's the way you want to go. There's savory crepes and there's
keep the bacon out.
dessert
Keep
crepes.
the eggs out.
Lots of bacon. Add extra
Well,
bacon. Extra bacon.
I would be remiss if I didn't say that Apple II Games has corrected us twice now, saying that Amazon AWS only makes up 13% of Amazon's overall 70 billion.
Nice.
Thank you.
And Grubhub takes 13.5%. So
He's wrong on
that
both
must
counts.
be 13.5.
I don't think
That must be
he knows
13
what anybody
because-
who has Apple in their name can't be right. Apple
Well,
teams.
If you're charging
another
50% markup and they're charging 13.5%, then your net comes out to about what you were saying, Eric,
Thank you, Thomas.
which is about 70%.
Appreciate that.
What are you talking
See,
about?
I got Thomas's support. We know how right Thomas is all the time.
Oh, don't even start.
Which means you're completely wrong. I don't
No,
get it.
I have teenagers. I'm being told on a daily basis how wrong I am about everything all the time.
Oh man,
It is-
welcome.
it is
It doesn't stop.
In this case, your teenagers are right.
It doesn't stop. Trust me.
I'm gonna hurt you. It better stop.
It doesn't stop, man. Oh my gosh.
It's good being a step back, 'cause
Apple
they don't
Games, I'm
play
just
the
giving you a
whole-
hard time, man. I appreciate you hanging
don't-
out with us.
My kids don't play the whole "you're not my real dad" thing because they know how little that affects me. They just yell at their mom and say, "And then there's him." And I'm like, "What? I'm eating my pizza, playing a video game. Leave me out of this."
Your kids should love you because they're like, all I get to do is play games all day. My kids hate me because they don't let them play games. I'm like, get back to the books now.
Get in there.
Yes, you're a better dad than I am. We know.
No, I'm not trying to say that. I'm a jerk.
Don't have to try.
I am definitely a jerk.
You know what?
Don't worry, they'll wear you down.
I've been touting on Twitter how our shows have been running long, and I say this because we're at 10 o'clock already. How long our shows have been running, and we're at episode 190, ladies and gentlemen. 190 shows. But we've been talking for like an hour and a half of the shows. When I go to edit the audio podcast and I start slicing out all the dead air and all the other ums, ands, and that crap, we're still barely hitting an hour. we still have less than an hour of like good content.
Okay, I don't understand. We don't have to be at an hour. We don't need an hour. We could
an hour
get all
and
the
10
good
is
stuff.
really the norm.
Really, I was shooting for 30 minutes when we put this all together. I'm like, wait,
I was shooting for 10 minutes, and you guys are like, no, it's got to be longer.
oh look.
Yeah, that's why I got the puppy dog eyes.
Look
That's how
who's
I reeled you
talking.
guys in.
When we started doing the PHP podcast, I'm like, we're going to make this a 15-minute podcast. We're just going to go bang, 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 bang through the topics. John's like, no, I think we should talk about things a little bit. What are you talking? Bang, bang, bang through the topics.
You could go listen to episode 1 and 2 of PHP podcast. We could be just like that.
It's like rapid fire. I did you see who we're interviewing for this month? Next month.
No, am I supposed to know?
Oh, this is the sponsored section. I'm gonna get another.
This
beer.
is I'm not no, yeah, you can get another beer, that's fine, but I'm not gonna explain it because I'm really excited about it. It was on a topic that I was super excited about last month. part 2 is this month, and that's who our interview's with. And you were included in the email, so.
Yes, I was included in the email.
But yeah, I'm excited to speak with them about this topic, and we will share.
You're allowed to talk about the topic. We are talking with Liam. You're allowed to spoil it and talk.
I wasn't going to spoil it until we don't typically spoil it until after we've actually done the interview, because what if the interview doesn't happen?
Why? It's going to happen. Well, even if it doesn't, we can say, well, it didn't happen. Oh, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, we're talking to the dude.
We've never missed an interview.
That's true. We're actually we have a pretty good track record with that. Yeah, we're talking to Liam, who has been writing articles in PHP Architect last month and this month on machine learning. And they're really good articles. I've really enjoyed them, so I'm looking forward to speaking with him. So, all right, John, let me ruin it.
That'll come out in like 2 months.
Spoiler.
I'd like to make a small observation.
Okay.
Gishu was saying that the show has been really good the past few weeks.
He's a long-time listener too. He's a
now. I propose
yes, Apple. That is. I think that's his last name.
Let's say we look at the last 4 episodes and ask ourselves what changed.
I don't know. I don't know what's changed. I tell you what, the last 4 episodes have been really entertaining to listen to. I don't know what's changed. Do you know?
It's on the screen right now, just behind John.
The beer? What?
Yes.
The beer. We're drinking again? We've drunk a lot.
John has started drinking beer again. And the quality of the show has just gone
through the roof.
Through the roof.
It's funny because it's true.
You know, it's funny, when we first started recording it, I almost had to be drunk to record with you guys. I was always so nervous.
I remember. You got mad at me too.
What are you talking about? I was the one getting high because I couldn't talk to you guys.
John was falling asleep.
The one episode where you didn't speak the entire episode. You were just on camera.
I actually thought about that today for some reason.
I wish we tracked those better.
One episode.
I would love to get back to that.
I was thinking about it because I was going back. I'm like, how long have we been recording? I went back, found the first one. And I was like, where was that one where I basically said nothing?
Your head was nodding up and down a lot.
It was like in the 150.
We should be able to find that because it was right after pot was legalized.
Yeah, it was after. It was shortly after it was legalized. But
hey, we got a little.
So it would have been what, February 18?
Apple, thanks for following us, dude. We got a little thing on our screen pop up.
I saw that.
That was awesome. I gotta figure out how that works.
The funny thing is, I watch like Twitch and those type of streams. I'm like, how do they make that work?
Apparently, it just works on its own. You don't have to.
I was telling you. I don't think we talked about this show. I've talked about it in past shows. How I've taken on the task of revamping our local user group's website, sdphp.org, and I spent a little time last week moving it off Vapor. So Laravel Vapor is finally dead for us, which is no bad thing about Vapor. Vapor is a great service.
Dead until you wrote to me this morning saying, maybe we should keep it.
God, you just share everything, don't you? I had this.
It's got the beer in it.
Why would I not share that? I mean, it's like we decided it's dead, and then you write this long post like maybe it's not.
Well, so it has its spot. What we were using for it was definitely not a spot. We were hosting a local user group's website on it. It was a horrible use of the Vapor service.
Oh, that piece is dead. I agree. Okay, forget that.
Yeah. So
it does have its place. I don't want to be down on it. There are things that can be used for.
Right. That's what we were talking about this morning of ways that we could leverage it the way it's supposed to be used.
It's bed for SDPHP, which was our test bed, which was a mistake.
Right. Well, it wasn't a mistake. We learned a lot of how the service works, but yeah.
We learned how to lose money.
It cost. It was expensive.
$15. How much did you learn?
It was way more than expensive than it needed to be. But I've been revamping the website.
Roll back though. Why was it more expensive? Because SDPHP was essentially a static site, right?
I mean, it's a WordPress site.
What? It's not a WordPress. It's a Laravel site.
No, it's not WordPress.
Oh, it was. It was years ago. It was a Laravel site.
Yeah. Before you had people doing interviews, training to write the site.
The most expensive part, and this is a common theme with the AWS environment. The most expensive part was the database. Vapor spins up RDS, the relational database service on Amazon, and that's just an expensive service. No matter how you cut it, there's no way to do it cheap. So.
I thought we had figured a cheat for that, though.
The new database service that they offer, that's the spin-off of MySQL. I forget what the Amazon version of MySQL brings down the cost.
Road sign.
What you call it?
Road sign?
No, you just
traffic stop.
You just make
parking lot.
It starts with Aurora or something like that.
I should start trademarking these, man.
That cuts down the. I don't even think you have to use the database.
Wait, you didn't say what it really was. Now I'm confused.
I don't know what it's called. I think it's Aurora. I always mix it up with the Microsoft Cloud Service, so I can never.
Azure.
What's it called? Azure. Anyways, you guys are killing me. Check out AWS Light Sale for small scale projects. Gishu, are you messing with me with that name, or is that really a thing now? I don't know who to trust anymore. My God. But that's always the most expensive. That's an expensive piece of AWS, and we were using it because Vapor did it out of the box. Blah blah blah. We could have done our own database and handled permissions and backups and everything, but we didn't. So that's why.
Why is RDS so expensive? So the application I work on, they chose to use EC2 instances running MySQL and not go to RDS, and I'm not sure why, but why is RDS so expensive?
So, the benefits really, right? So with your EC2 instances, you're still on the hook for managing those servers. With RDS, there's nothing for you to manage. There's no servers for you to manage.
But you don't manage AWS servers for the most part.
Well, that's on you.
They're up and running. They can crash, but if
that's not.
You get replication running, what's the?
And as we learned last week, there is a backup service now for the EC2 instances. That was the big thing with RDS is you could do backups, you could do replication, and it was super simple to do. And Amazon handled all that for you. Replication is still pretty simple. Backups, I guess, aren't as big of a deal anymore because EC2 instances have backups. But that's what it boiled down to is just the RDS is more of a managed platform than the EC2 instances. EC2 is just a server; you can do whatever you want on it.
Yeah, but everything I've seen, RDS is so damn expensive.
It's literally about 10 times as much as the EC2 instance. So an EC2 instance might run you $10 a month or less, and like the smallest RDS instance is probably going to run you about $80 to $100 a month. And
I think we have a client spending $1,000 or more a month easily.
Mm-hmm. We definitely
Just
do. We definitely do. Yeah.
We should really discuss that. If we could save them that much money.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, off the show.
I started this whole story talking about the SDPHP website. So I've been refactoring it, and as we said last week, we've used this.
You did say we talk about our business on this website, right. And we're trying to talk about our business.
we use.
You said podcast, but I'm glad to hear you're drinking.
This website when new developers came on, so that you started workflow. Listen to an older show if you want all that. Anyways, I've been refactoring it, and we had a person reach out. John, I assume you saw this because they reached out through the SDPHP website or SDPHP email address looking for a mentor, and I replied to them.
I did see that.
I'm like, hey, I might not be a great mentor, but I'm working on the website. If you want to hang out, and I'll screen share with you, and we can talk through things. So I've actually had company working on it the last couple days. It's been fun, and like I tweeted about this the other day. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this person's a better developer than I am, but they're very accommodating. They're very patient.
All right, see, I feel bad. I did mean to reply to that email. They had a topic that I had some input on.
You should.
Now I gotta go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you should reply. But they've been hanging out with me, and it's been fun. But I found myself. What happened yesterday is I want to open source the SDPHP website again so that members of the group could work on it, and we were using Nova on it to manage our posts and things because, as John said, it used to be a WordPress site. It's now a Laravel site. So we had thrown Nova on the back end so that we could do posts and job postings and things like that. So I've ripped that out now, and I was looking for another shortcut for an administrative panel, and it just so happens that we have a member of our group who actually has one of the more popular open source admin panels for Laravel called Voyager. And that's from Tony from the control group. It's a good product. So I was trying to get that implemented, but there's so much overlapping tables and code and stuff. And anyways, this person was on with me as I'm going through these troubles. I can't just do a compose or require on this because it's seeing conflicting tables. We're using UUIDs. It's expecting integers, and I'm sitting here saying, okay, you never go into the vendor table and change anything in the vendor folder because that's coming from like the package. So we're going to do it today because I need to get this working, but you never want to do this. I'm like going into the vendor table, I'm finding migrations and updating migrations. I'm like, and when all was said and done, I still ended up pulling it out. I think I'm gonna have to just suck it up and write a bunch of crud stuff myself. Look at everybody. Look, John is in chat. This is weird. Where am I right now?
So I go into the vendor directory when I want to fix an issue, and then open a PR against whatever upstream branch that is. Like if it fixes the issue, great.
Yeah.
I'll do it for quick debugging, but yeah, of course it's not going to stay there through deployments, yada yada yada. Or if you were to upgrade your composer packages, you would lose whatever changes you made.
Yeah. This is again one of those projects. I had this happen when I was working with Sushi. Now with Voyager, it's like I really need to take some time and try to submit some PRs for this because I'm pretty sure I can fix some of these issues that I'm coming across. I just don't. I'm a very selfish person.
I do have to thank Thomas.
What world is this? What?
I did not put this in Trello, but thank you, Thomas. You were talking about working on basically a separate package and incorporating it into your main code base via a symlink. Mm-hmm. And yes. I got to take advantage of that last week.
Nice. Yeah, the composer JSON special symlink reference.
Mm-hmm. So it does suck in Docker, but my workaround was I created a directory within my project, and then I just excluded it from GitHub or from Git. And then I was able to symlink so that Docker could see the package easily, which I guess I still need to do that because of the way I was including it. Yeah. and it worked beautifully. I was able to test. I was able to make changes to both the code I was working on and the library that I was writing. It is open sourced and available. It's still working out some kinks, but it's a Swift mailer transport plugin.
Do you have
Oh,
do you have
yeah.
that under Diego
with
Dev?
Office 365.
Where's that released?
Yeah, let's say it's DiegoDev. No,
Private.
because I'm working on it with PhoneBurner. PhoneBurner open source has a repo for third-party packages.
Okay, we can talk about it later, I guess.
It's usually it's like pulling teeth just to get him to say the name phone burner.
What?
No,
It's just he's
not.
so.
What show have
so
you listened to? He talks about
passionate.
phone burner more than he does Diego Dev. Are you kidding me?
I do not. I say the project I work on more than anything else.
Yes,
Because
yes, exactly. You say a client or a project I work on.
this happens to be an open source project for them that they are taking advantage of.
Moving on.
Gishu, where are you? Gishu said that he was going to. I was about to do a PR until the sdphp.org only has an initial commit from 2012. Do we still have an old repo out there?
It sounds like it.
Let's share a screen.
Right.
Why I look.
Kishu
Well,
is a better
and-
programmer
and-
than me. And,
Wait,
it only took him like 3 years.
initial commit or last commit? Because yes, 2012 is when I moved to San Diego and started SDPHP.
Oh, look at this! I forgot I had this. It's funny. I have SDPHP actually under Diego Dev because I care about the company. I did not. I forgot we actually have a SDPHP GitHub group out there. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah. Yeah, Gishu, don't do a PR against this. Oh, there's nothing in there but a README. That's awesome.
It's a single repeat.
Go ahead and fix that README for us, Gishu. Do you mind? Yeah, jump in that. Jump in there and fix that.
So I wish GitHub nagged me the same way that my fitness tracker does, where it's like, hey, you've been sitting on your ass for 4 hours. You should move a little.
I guess
GitHub, I want to get like annual emails. They're like, hey, you've got 10 projects that are just a README file. You think you want to clean those fuckers up?
it costs us money here.
You picked a license for something you didn't write a line of code for. You spent 4 hours on that page choosing licenses.
We have.
Well, so I did create a README file 8 years ago.
I need to.
September 2012.
I guess I need to move
Just
our
says,
repo.
you do README file.
You know what's funny is
Official website of sdphp.org.
think about it though. When we started this group, it's not called a group, what's organization, in GitHub, you couldn't have private repos, without paying for them. So I'm sure that's probably one of the reasons why I initially we moved it off of SDPHP. But I guess I need to move it back over to SDPHP where it belongs. Oh man, remember when we talked about putting all of our presentations in GitHub? Man, that would have been a smart move. And we didn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys have Thunderbolt on your stupid Mac laptops, don't
That's
you?
all we have now. It's all they come with.
Stupid.
Have you
I'm actually
superglued
concerned.
Have you superglued the back of your laptops closed?
Well, it's the
Shut up.
uni case.
Have you seen the ThunderSpy stuff?
I saw it. My
Shared it.
my whole thing
s-
about do you have a Trello for that?
Yes.
Yes.
it
Yeah.
does.
My whole thing about that is, if I have physical access to the machine, if I could pull out a hard drive, yeah, okay. I don't need a Thunderbolt hack to get around that. I'll get on that thing.
But it's encrypted if you just have access to the hard drive.
Hmm.
The hard drive is encrypted, but if you have access to the OS where it's unencrypted,
Not even the OS. The example that they gave, overwrite the kernel for a Windows machine and granted access to anyone with blank passwords. But what it's actually doing in practice is direct access to the PCI bus of the system. So if they wanted to, they could just dump the memory.
So you brought this up as you're asking about our Macs. Is it a Thunderbolt issue or is it a Windows issue?
It is a Thunderbolt issue. So the interesting thing about this is, now I might be 100% wrong on this, but from my research, the chips that control Thunderbolt on a consumer device like a camera, they don't want to have to deal with an intermediary operating system. So they just have, when you plug Thunderbolt into it, it allows full access to the system's PCI bus, to all the memory lanes. So you can just access it. The same chips are being used in desktop applications, but they have a bit flagged that says you cannot access the PCI bus through this port. So what's being done is someone is hooking up a JTAG writer and updating the firmware on the chip to say full PCI access is enabled. So on a device that has the security normally enabled, it's just shutting it off and allowing you to write directly to the stream of data in the system. What they're doing from there is enumerating the hard drive, finding the Windows folder, overwriting the kernel, and then the system is compromised. But that's just the payload. The vector is the problem here, which is that it takes very little effort, but some technical understanding to perform this attack.
Yeah, you had to have physical access to the machine with enough time to take it apart, hook up specialized equipment that you would have if you were an attacker, obviously, but it's not something everyone has laying around.
No, but in this world, we keep forgetting that espionage is a totally real thing that happens in companies, and that finding a janitor and training him for 1 week to do this and then paying him $100,000 is a real thing that really happens at Hyundai, Toyota, IBM, Amazon, Intel, AMD. All of these companies have offices that are not running 24 hours a day, that have a night staff that is doing janitorial work, that has access to the highest level security systems. So this creates this is not a me and you problem, and the name of the kind of attack is called a bad maid. So the bad maid is not really the right term for me. To me, the right term is bad janitor, because people think of maids as the person who cleans your house. People think of janitors as the person who cleans your corporate offices. But the reality is that a lot of people have laptops that they leave at their office.
I have a whole
the janitorial staff has access to it.
Layout for you. You got to give me a heads up when you're going down the doom and gloom route.
I didn't give you a heads up on purpose.
You gave us a heads up days ago when you posted it in Slack.
So you should have known. When I started talking about a new attack vector, you should have had that title card up there immediately.
I was more concerned about getting the eye-rolling avatar deployed.
I know. I saw that one too. This is a fascinating thing for me because Thunderbolt was considered safe hardware. That there wasn't an attack vector that could use this. And it turns out that it's not safe hardware, and it's not safe hardware by a huge margin.
Yeah, I think that's
because it's very easy to do.
That's an ignorant.
The video you shared is freaking scary, where it really is just a flag. Like,
yeah,
it's secure or it's not secure.
Right.
and if you have disk level encryption through a software bound encryption, then that doesn't matter. Too bad. Too late.
Yeah. So the video he shared showed a Windows laptop. It was locked. It was at the password prompt screen. All they did was close the laptop, kept it running, hooked up they took the backplate off of the laptop, hooked up some hardware to it, and they were able to It was reprogram the ROM, right? Or
The firmware on the chip.
yeah, and then basically open the laptop back up, hit enter, access to the machine, bypassing any security to it.
Yeah, and because it was replacing the kernel in memory, it didn't even need a reboot.
It's crazy.
It's a super scary attack. If you were one step closer to how easy it was, which was just plug in a device into the port itself, which I'm sure could be done.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's a level of magnitude more difficult. But
I can't imagine you being able to write to the firmware from. Well, I guess never mind. That's stupid to say.
Yeah, I mean, Intel has its 4th hardware-based security flaw this year. It is possible, and I'm sure that the NSA already knows how to do it. But the fact that this has become a commercially acknowledged issue.
I never assume my laptop is anywhere close to a safe harbor for anything. I take certain precautions so that your casual I'm going to steal your laptop person has trouble getting access to it, like you said, encrypting the hard drive, things like that. But I don't kid myself. There's no way I would ever feel a level of confidence that, hey, what I have on here is safe from anybody taking. I just don't.
Well, so call back to an old project of mine. When I started really working on Buscoin, this became an issue I had to be aware of, which is that potentially millions of dollars of assets lived on a machine. And I had to find some way of securing that no matter what kind of machine it was. If it was a remote server, if it was a local machine, if it was a laptop or a desktop, that didn't matter, because once you start getting into payloads worth millions of dollars, someone is going to track you down and try to get to it. So there was a time in my life where I did a security audit of my entire lifestyle, and security of physical hardware was part of that.
So what did you cut out?
If I told you, then it wouldn't work. I'm serious. Like, if I told you the steps that I took, creating honeypot Wi-Fi networks around my house, or hiding the SSID, tracking MAC addresses in my house, I mean, I really took it seriously. I knew the MAC address of every device in my neighborhood. And if one just showed up, I tried to figure out where it was coming from. Mm-hmm. So that's, I mean, we're not dealing in billions of dollars, but there are people out there who are.
Fair enough. I guess maybe when I get to billions of dollars, I'll worry more about it, but I'm not going to spend my life just concerned about it. Like when John and I...
It's a hobby, thank you.
When John and I went to Longhorn and I left my laptop at a airport. It was inconvenient. I wasn't happy I left it. I was more kicking myself over that, but I wasn't particularly worried about it. I mean, you know who I worry about? I worry about the employees at Dropbox who have access to my Dropbox. I worry about the employees at Google who have access to my emails. Those are the dudes I'm concerned about. My laptop gets taken from me. I'm not happy about it. I don't want it to happen. It's a major inconvenience, but I'm not losing sleep over it.
Well, if you're worried about Google, just wait till you hear about the NSA.
Don't be knocking the NSA, man. I got my NSA hat back there. I'm talking to a kid of the NSA, so yeah.
Oh, I know.
You need to...
It scares me every time. Every time I think about it.
You just think I'm your friend. I've been reporting on you for years.
Yeah. I was wondering why he's put up with 190 episodes of this shit. Why is he still
I'm
doing
gonna
it if
take
he's
I'm
not
gonna take
getting
it to
paid?
199, and we're never going to record 200 because just out of pure frustration of dealing with you for 199 episodes. I kid because I love you. You know that.
You'll introduce me to a new friend. I mean handler. I mean friend.
Jerry, go away. We'll get somebody else.
Tell me you like anime.
All right, that's it. We need to wrap it up. We're at an hour and 30 minutes. I'm sure this is all cut down to about 46 minutes. But that's it. We are in the 190s now. We've officially got episode 190 out the door. We're marching towards episode 200. And you know what happens in episode 200? We go to 201. That's right. Okay. That's it. Thanks for listening, everybody in Discord, or everybody in chat, Discord, YouTube, wherever you might be. Twitch can be in there as well.
Patreons.
Oh yeah, Apple's on Twitch. Look at that. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks to our Patreons. I still need to update that slide, but I have an old slide here, right there. There's the old slide. I need to update this with current names. And again, I know I say this week after week. I will get out the packages for people who are at reward packages who have earned rewards. I will get you those the next week or two. I need to go back to the office. I was actually just at the office this week, and damn if I didn't remember to pick up the swag we have. But I'll head out there. John, you got stuff waiting for you on your desk, by the way.
Yeah, I'll get there eventually.
All right, that's it.
You to 190 plus hours of my life wasted.
You can't get that back.
He didn't say wasted. He didn't say wasted.
You
He said he's not
you
getting
can't,
it
and
back.
don't think about suing us either. You can't because it's just you can't do it. It's not a legal thing. I'm pretty sure. All right, 2x. I don't know. Does it help when you listen at us 2x? Just get the pain over quicker. I don't know. Man. Everybody's got a comment. Okay, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm Eric.
I'm John.
I'm Tom.
Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
All right.
One sec.
Yeah, go ahead. Gishu, skip the download, straight to recycle. Ouch! That hurts a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Hey, Apple, if this is your first time here, you can hang out for a little bit longer. We usually hang out and talk a little bit. It gets cut out of the audio podcast.
It's 2:30 a.m. for them.
How do you know that? Did he say he's? Oh, I see that. Dang it. Damn.
They. You can't assume pronouns.
My bad. I did that before. 2:30. Where are you at?
East Coast.
No, that's 1:30, isn't it?
Oh, it's 1:30. Yeah, you're right.
Where are you at? I obviously you don't have to tell us, but yeah, Atlantic time zone. But wouldn't that be 1:30? Aren't you?
Where's the Atlantic time zone? No, don't leave yet. We're still talking to you. I've never heard of Atlantic time zone.
I don't know.
Are you in the Bahamas?
Oh,
Is Bahamas Atlantic?
Maybe. Southwest from where I am. Oh, interesting. Gishu, I think you're still in Florida, right? Is that? It's 1:30 here in Florida. Yeah, he just said it. It's 1:30 here in Florida.
What part of Florida? I forget. Or never knew.
He must be up in what's the
Greenland, Iceland, somewhere up that way. I'm not a geography guy. Yeah. Sorry.
Gishu, John is from Florida.
South by Southwest. What?
Southwest from. We're trying to figure out where Apple is, Thomas. In case you're wondering. Hey, Tom.
I was.
Tom, can you? I'm heading out to Arizona. Can you edit? Oh.
You put that whole thing about your wife with all the clapping in it.
And I even said.
Iceland. I'd say Iceland.
I even said Thomas, edit that out. It's not my local.
Yeah, Gishu, I've got family up that way. Actually, just a little west of 95 in McClenny.
Kill your local recording if you guys still have it.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for the reminder.
Should we try to do something for 200?
Nah.
I was gonna get drunk.
Yeah, that works.
So same as every other.
All right. I say I could try to.
You remember me getting drunk.
Could try to call in a few favors, but if we don't care, I don't care.
No, that'd be cool if we could do something. I'm not an ideas man.
I don't know what to do. I don't think anybody would do anything with us anyways, right?
We had a whole group of people on. Was it 50 or 100?
We had 2 people on the 100 show.
It was like 7 people. What are you talking
What
about?
What show were you on?
That may have been the one I was high for. I don't know.
That was Laravel News.
Oh man, we could just open up do Discord phone line. I bet you I could just open up Discord and have everybody in there.
Don't make it awkward. Don't make it.
Yeah, as soon as you're done getting OBS working, you work on that.
I got OBS working. This is Streamlabs OBS, but yeah.
Newfoundland. I don't know whether St. John's, Newfoundland.
Well, he's just making shit.
Newfoundland.
He's making shit up on you now.
Newfoundland. Told you I'm not a geography person.
Me neither. It really hurts my trivia group too.
Well, Apple to Games, thank you so much for joining us. It was awesome having you there.
Yeah, it's been a good episode.
They're always good episodes. It is a new thing. It's not Newfoundland. It's Newfoundland.
It's pronounced Newfoundland.
Is it?
Yes.
Newfoundland. That's what I said.
We're stalking you now.
You said you pronounced the D. You said Newfoundland. It's
Whatever.
Newfoundland.
That looks like a nice place, man. Look at that. I want to go there. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen with you guys anymore. I'm sorry.
I'm looking at it.
Oh, are you?
All 3 of us.
I'm on Twitch.
Oh, you're on Twitch. Oh, you're looking at the stream. Hey, your video.
Yeah, I'm watching you stalk our.
Shrunk again. For some reason. I need.
You have to mark it as a fixed size.
Well, that's the thing. That's how we used to. That's how we did on the other one. But here we go. No. How did we do that on the other? This is a.
You right click it.
I did right click it. Again, you can't see what I'm doing.
Right, I can't see what you're doing, so I can't help
Flip the
you.
screen, center, flip, rotate. I remember we went through this once before. I don't know. We'll figure it out next week, I guess. I'm not gonna work on it.
In the source, you have to
No,
click.
we won't.
In the source, you have to have a static size set. Don't let it be a dynamic size.
See, this doesn't have the same settings as the open source OBS.
I'm telling you, it's in the source though. If you pull it up, if you pull up the source, there will be a.
Here, I'll share my screen with you again. Where you at?
Yeah, John, teenagers, dude. Oof.
Don't worry, I'm never gonna have teenagers.
What? You plan on killing your kids at some point? Jesus.
Whatever it takes.
Buy them their first pair of nice purple sneakers.
Oh, Jesus.
All right.
So if I...
Yeah. Open that. And then...
I could have sworn it was under transform. Edit.
Properties. No, it's not. Properties. And then...
It's not here.
It was edit transform. You're right.
It was, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Transform. Edit transform. Position size.
That's not it.
But there's no way to. There's no way to lock it.
No, that wasn't it.
Oh, look at you! I just reset you. That's awesome. Good job, Johnson. Yeah, I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm thinking I'm gonna switch back to the other OBS anyways. This one.
Wait, right click on it again. I want to see the rest of this.
Wait, I gotta get just on your. There you go. There you go.
So okay. There is a. If you close that menu on the row that says NDI Thomas, there's a lock icon.
There is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That just means I can't edit it.
but I think it means it can't edit itself either.
Oh, okay.
I think all this stuff has to be locked.
Well, I can
Like that whole group that says Thomas should be locked.
I can do that. I don't have a problem with that.
And I think generally speaking, once you have things the way you want, you should lock it and then only unlock it if you're going to edit it.
Okay. I can do all that. You think there'd be an easy way to lock everything, though?
Is there not like a master lock icon at the very top?
This is something I don't understand. Visible in both stream and recording. I don't know why you would have that different. No, there's no. I don't see a master lock anywhere. But yeah, I mean, if that works, I'm
what about under that gear? What about under that gear?
This gear here?
Yeah. Nope. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
You should be able to select all of them at once and press the lock icon on one of them.
Well, now I have half of them locked, half of them not locked, so I don't know. But this is exciting. Well, that all selected. Let's see if it. Nope. Just one at a time. It's fine. I'll go through and lock everything. I mean, that's all. Matter of fact, if I just lock these two layouts, these are the big ones because these are all the ones I have videos on. So that's sidebar.
0.1.0. That's your Streamlabs version.
Oh, Jesus, I just unlocked shit. Alright,
Don't forget to drop the files into Dropbox.
Yeah, I'll do that right now because mine is still saying it's processing, so that's got me a little nervous. But
mine's done.
Yeah, both you and Thomas are done. Mine is still processing for some reason. But I'll
yeah, yours says health check passed, ready to record.
Oh, mine's still saying uploading MP3 on my screen. So I don't know.
It's gonna get real.
Up for you. I'll get that. We did get Gishu. I think it was Gishu. Somebody said that we had double voice, and I think it was on active speaker.
No, it was on John's focus.
No,
it wasn't active speaker. It was just on John.
I'm pretty sure it was active speaker. It just John was talking at the time, and they thought it was John's single, but I think it was active speaker, which would make sense, I guess. Because I switched over.
Wait, what happened?
I think when I would go to active speaker, everybody was saying that there was. Oh, I know how to fix that. Yep. See, I need to mute active speaker, and just because I have all three of our NDIs in here, if I just mute active speaker, that's why they were hearing double, right there. Gishu says right there, yeah, this is active speaker. Thanks, Gishu. You should only hear when Thomas talk.
Check 1 2. I am awesome.
So you should.
Anything happens is not my fault.
Oh, he says Thomas is doubling. Shit, I thought I had. I don't know if that's. I just muted. So let me know if he's doubling when he says check Gishu. I'm moving on because I'm pretty sure I have that fixed. All right, well, I have everything locked now.
Did I tell you guys I make my own e-liquid now?
That probably won't be healthy, but okay.
It is. Look. It comes in its own gallon jug.
Of my pee.
Jesus, John, what's wrong with you?
No, it's vegetable glycerin. It's vegan. Unlike your pee, which is not vegan.
It's still vegan because I voluntarily give it.
I don't know.
You can continue using it.
Thanks,
I'm gonna keep
Gishu.
sending it to you.
Yeah,
Gishu's
saying I fixed the problem. It was definitely that it had active speaker audio enabled, so I just disabled it. So that should be fixed now. All right, guys, that's it. I need to pack up and. So I'm doing something weird, Thomas. We should have talked about this on the show. I'm heading out to Arizona tomorrow, and I'm not taking a laptop. Look at that. Your video just changed size. Did you do something on your end?
Oh, weird.
Did you do something?
I did.
What did you do?
Leave it there. Leave it there.
Yep. Yep.
Did it go
Yep.
back?
It went back.
Oh, that's so weird.
What are you doing?
I'm taking your icon in Skype and dragging it onto the main screen to be a split panel. Why would it care about that?
I don't know, but it does.
That's funny.
Well, now I know not to do that.
So, anyways,
Actually,
I'm heading to Arizona, as I said, and probably for the first time in I couldn't even tell you how long, I'm not taking a laptop with me.
how are you planning on working? Is this a non-working trip?
It's a non-coding trip.
It's a weekend trip. It's not
Yeah.
a vacation.
Yeah, but I don't plan on doing any coding. I am taking my iPad, so I'll probably do emails, Slack, that sort of thing. But I'm not planning on coding.
Huh.
Save it for the show. Let us know how it goes.
I will definitely do it.
It's a bold move,
Dude. It's my.
Why are you not just putting your laptop in the truck just in case? It's not like you are tight on space.
It's a mentality issue.
It is. If I have it, I'm going to code.
So, are you taking Kalen's permissions away from root while you're gone?
I don't think my audio track is going to show up. I might have to get.
It told me that yours finished.
Did it?
Yeah.
It's not in my Dropbox, and mine is still spinning. I'm going to close my browser though. I'm going to refresh my browser.
No,
I'm going to dashboard.
No, refreshing should work because we did all the health check stuff.
Refreshing browser. Nope, it says changes you made may not be saved. Oh, I'm freaking out.
Just let it sit there. Oh, pull up Inspector. See if there's a bad
Come on.
bad XHR request.
So weird. It won't let me.
Gishu brought up muriatic acid, which reminds me of my high school days.
Why is that?
You used to do a lot of acid?
No, well, I used muriatic acid in soda bottle bombs. Where you take a little bit of muriatic acid, put it into a soda bottle with a little bit of tinfoil, tighten it up, and it would just explode.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some errors. There's errors here for Zencaster. Yeah. Just error after error. Failed to load source map. Could not parse content. Unexpected to...
Those are just warnings. They're not errors.
You might as well just refresh it then.
I keep getting...
No, it does say 404s.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done.
Me too.
All right, I'll just let this run for a while, and I'll see where it's at in the morning. It's not making any progress, but I'll let it run overnight, and then see where it's at in the morning. If nothing else, I have the backup. And absolute worst case scenario, we'll grab it from YouTube.
All right, I'll ding you at 9 and remind you.
All right, man. Thanks.
Thanks everyone
good night,
for
guys.
hanging out.